मेरी जिंदगी के 10 साल में सबसे 1 घंटा पहले स्कूल पहुंचता था ताकि मैं तबला सीख सकूं। मुझे घर पे भी आते थे। So that's how I got into it. And eventually, so it was largely about तबला। फिर 9वीं 10वीं में आते हो आपको पता लगता है कि लड़कियां तो गिटार से पढ़ती है। ठीक है।
Hello and welcome to Tales from an Ordinary City. I'm your host Yash along with Dipesh and Priyesh. Hey guys.
Hello.
What's up? I'm really excited about this episode because we consider ourselves to be artists, but today we are with real artists. So I'm really looking forward to talking with you guys. Why don't we start with introducing ourselves, Krishna?
So, hi, my name is Krishna Kothari and I am basically a freelance 2D hand-drawn animator. I know that's a mouthful, but it's a niche market right now and the industry is still coming up. And I would consider myself as a quiet artist, yeah. And you can find me at KRSNA.K97.
Wow.
Instagram.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mudra. I'm a DJ and a multi-instrumentalist. I'm trained in Hindustani classical, but I'm largely into percussion instruments from all over the world. I'm a very loud artist. And you can find me on Instagram at Mudra Kumar, MUDRAKUMAR.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rhea. I write. Calling myself a writer is a little too much, I guess. But yeah, I'm a writer. I currently do content writing for marketing and digital marketing agencies, mostly as a freelancer. I am also a science student, so that kind of differs in the way that I just introduced myself. But then again, dichotomy lives forever, right?
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's me. My Instagram username is a mouthful for a lot of people. It's the metaphoric physicist. Just googling RHEA Rhea Goyal would be easier for you. So thanks.
So, hi, I'm Shrihari and I'm an architecture student basically, but I like experimenting. So I've done graphic designing, logo designing, illustrations, t-shirt designing, some of the tattoo designing, and yeah, I'm still experimenting.
So let's get into it. If you had to create an art piece that captures the spirit of the 2020s, what direction would you pick and why?
I mean, when we think of 2020, 2020s for that matter, I feel there's no way we can keep Corona out of the business, right? And what COVID did, or what isolation has done to people, is it has brought us closer to the internet. I mean, probably West was closer to internet, but जब से हमारे यहाँ पे आया है, तब से घर में इंटरनेट गया है, जियो की वजह से कहिए, और उसकी वजह से मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि we have come closer to the world, and the world has come to us, and we've gone to the world. And just because of that, I think the direction I would take, I'm anyways a multi-instrumentalist, but if I have to create a piece, it would have global influences. कुछ यहाँ से लिया, कुछ यहाँ से लिया, because I learned a lot over the pandemic as well. So maybe that would be my approach, to just take different elements from different parts of the world in terms of music and then bring them together.
Wow. What about you, Krishna?
So for me it should be like making a small collage on Photoshop, and my main reference for that would be the game Cyberpunk, because it has a lot of it has some body horror and it has technical and tech advancements. So nice. I think that is the way I would take.
Okay.
That.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I don't know. The 2020s were a very self-infliction kind of a thing for me. So I don't know. I would rather write a piece where there were a lot of perspectives of myself if a third person was looking at it. I think I would rather go with that.
So like a poem?
Yeah, like a lot of parts in a single poem that way. So like I would try to keep them in a flow where it's me, but then it would have very different ideologies of the same human. I would like to see how far I can go with that.
I would like to say in 2020s there were two sides. Actually, good side and a bad side. The good side considered we were house arrest basically. So
Right.
So that was the good part. Yeah.
Everyone remembers the Instagram stories of Maggie's and
Dalgona coffee.
Dalgona coffee.
Yes, that was, you can never
Not
forget.
saying that was the good side, but if you see the other side, which is the sad one, so many of the people lost their close ones.
Yeah.
So I would create a art piece which would not sadden them, but actually make people aware about the conditions of the people
Oh, okay.
in both ways. So it would just be an art piece which would spread an awareness, not saddening them about the 2020s, but to
To look at the brighter side.
look at the brighter side and be aware of what has happened. So it should not
An
again
art
in the
piece
future.
like what?
So something like
You
a
can
sculpture.
tell
and
us some
art piece.
imagery about it.
No, I would like to create an illustration, sort of a painting or a digital art,
Okay.
maybe full of shapes and colors. I think so.
That's
So
all art.
That's yeah. Just,
Okay.
I would be happy with making that.
So that's a really interesting mix of answers because Krishna said that he would create an art piece as well, but his focus would be more towards the technological aspects of things.
It's something also known as photo bashing, where you cut some images out of an image and make something else. on
Oh,
Photoshop.
like the
Right.
journaling
Yeah.
things a lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah,
do.
like-
Yeah,
You'd say a lot of memes are photo bashing them.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
No, I've seen a lot of writers do that recently. Like in the COVID times, actually, they ventured into a lot of different types of writings.
Right.
So what they did was they cut out headlines out of a lot of magazines, and then they just made a whole art piece with just headlines of Vogue. That's all they did. I mean, it had flow. It had a beautiful flow to the whole poem, and it was just headlines, and it was just topics of articles published in Vogue in like 5 years.
I
That's it.
haven't checked it out.
Yeah, it was very cool. I think it's
I'll
somewhere
get
there.
back to you with
I will try to find it for you.
Nice.
Right. So, did the pandemic in any way, speaking of 2020s, affect how you see yourselves as artists?
It's a very deep-seated question. That's all. Am I supposed to go first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. Even though I have studied a lot of science and I have studied a lot of literature, but there was a whole point where I just discarded the whole science part of mine. So in the COVID times, I started reading a lot about it, and I realized how dramatic mathematics as a history is.
Oh, okay.
Drama and maths.
It's so much of drama in maths.
Seems like an oxymoron, right?
It does.
Dramatic mathematics.
There's a whole 500-page book that literally talks about the complete drama of a guy that created a theorem and said, I have the proof, wrote it in the margin of a paper, and then just died after that.
Oh, well.
And it took 350 years after that for somebody to prove the theorem.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people involved in between, which were like, no, I did it. No, they did it. No, this is the reason why we can do it. This is the reason we can't do it. A whole drama, a lot of drama there.
Nice.
So that is something that I discovered, and the amalgamation between philosophy and mathematics is something that I found in that time.
Wow.
I think I've become more confident as an artist since the pandemic happened. It's because I've had more time to engage with my art. Number one, that would be the easiest thing, easiest way to look at it. That I could spend more time with it. But more importantly, I guess what it also allowed me is to bring in technology to my music. So I've always been an instrumentalist. I'm just trying to pick up different instruments and try to learn it. But now, music industry is so huge and music technology is growing by leaps and bounds. So what that has allowed is for me to inculcate that technology, and that I feel I'm a more complete artist now, because what I do is I play percussions, tabla, cajon, those sort of instruments, and they're usually supportive instruments. A guitar is leading, keys are leading, a singer is singing, and we're there to support and add a rhythm to it. But now there are things like a looper, Basically, I can record my voice and it plays in a loop.
Mhm.
Now, what I can do is I don't need anyone else. I can just put my own music on the looper and I can create my own pieces with it. So that's why I feel the pandemic has allowed me to become more confident as an artist. That's it.
I see you made a lot of reels doing
I
that
did.
loop in
I
the
did.
pandemic.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. See that helped, right?
Yeah, that helped a lot.
I am my own band kind of made
That's
became true
one
for
man
you.
band.
Yes.
The piece I'm working on right now is it's called One Man Band, One Man Can't.
Nice.
Oh, that is kind of cool.
You have a really interesting Instagram page. I checked your page out,
Thank you.
and like I really liked. I don't know what that instrument is called, but
Well,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
I
have
carried
Well, lucky
Oh,
for
in
you.
my lucky for you, I carried in my
wow,
Just show it to the
Give it
camera.
something.
yes,
Give it something,
just
please.
just show it to the camera.
here.
Yes.
It's a very basic instrument, right?
Nice.
And most people don't know what to do with it. If I show it to them,
Right.
they don't necessarily. You can see it here.
Yeah, I don't know where what goes in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, there was a joke there, but I was.
Don't hold yourself back. Don't.
Sure.
But this is called a morcham.
Morcha.
Morcham.
Morcham.
Right.
Morcham. Okay.
Yeah. This is a beautiful instrument in the sense that you can find the same instrument all across the world. Wherever you go, you'll find a different version of it. And it's called different things in different parts of the world. You can find it in Russia, in Europe, in China, all across the Silk Route. Largely a nomadic instrument or a folk instrument, you can say.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And I was studying in Ireland, and that's when I came across this. In Ireland, it's called a Jew's harp.
Jews.
A Jew's harp.
Okay.
Right, and it's the same instrument, right? For a guitar, you got the strings.
Right.
For that sound to come out of the strings, you need that sound box.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Correct.
hole that's there in that, and
Right.
the strings vibrate, reverberate, the sound goes in, it comes out, and that's what you hear.
Right.
Similarly, it's the same thing. It's like a mouth. These are the teeth
Mm.
of the instrument. This is the tongue,
Right.
and the sound box would be my mouth. So just to give you a little
Yeah.
demonstration. of
Sure.
what it
Please,
is.
please. Wow. Wow.
Woohoo.
Nice.
Right.
That is so cool. That is really,
This is
really
rather.
cool.
I always carry it in my pocket. Stay away from it.
Yeah. I say that for my pens.
Yes. I'll turn you into a poem.
We don't want to know what you carry in your pocket.
Sure. Only for the women.
Safe questions.
What about you, Krishna?
So I mean, the projects that I usually got were very COVID oriented because the firm I work in is usually, they make short animation films. So it made me think a lot about world in general. But everybody was there at a certain stage. They were just, they were caught up in a small space and thinking and contemplating what is this world that we live in. And as a person, it's really important for all of us to do that. So it gave us that space to, and also what it did is, for me in general, it's where my career basically started because I was giving my graduation project back then in Pune. So, I mean, I should say it's more like a beginning for me than anything cool.
Okay.
Things.
Lovely.
And also another thing is that a lot of product designers, like it's a segment in industrial design and communication design. So all the industrial design people, they they suffered a lot. But we as a communication design team, like what we are,
Mhm.
our work just excelled a lot,
Right.
exponentially.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes me sad how capitalism makes things, but also there was nothing else that can be done. So it was a weird place. For everybody, the pandemic was a very weird place, but I think something good came out of it, at least for me. But I think it's for everybody. It's good that we got back and I had our seat and saw the world properly.
That's a really interesting perspective because what artists generally did at that time, according to me, was they looked inwards.
Right.
What Krishna did is he looked outwards to the
yeah.
world. Right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. What about you, Shrihari?
Actually, all the things which I just stated, that is logo designing, graphic designing, I did it all in this COVID era. So that was the good part for me. And that is why I can say social distancing brought me to this close circle.
Nice
So,
word.
Also,
It
the
is-
irony is that
social distancing brought me close.
close. Yeah.
There are amazing people sitting here, and I think this COVID helped me. Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about art now and what it means to you personally.
Art is just expression. I don't know. It's expression of not only me, because that's like obvious, but the part that comes up is I can create whatever, and people have to believe that. It's like this huge power I carry.
You create your
That
own
it-
reality.
Yes, yeah, reality. It doesn't have to be real in the end. After that, also.
Right.
I talk about aliens and they're like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm like, okay, sounds great. It's just a huge power that I carry with a very cheap ass pen and a very small diary.
Nice.
But they say the pen is mightier than the sword. So
Yeah, but then the sword will kill the pen anyway. So I don't know about the mightier part of things, but again, it's just a thing that it's just what I believe in for the art. There's a huge long ass answer for it, but I'd rather go with the short one, which is this.
That's really interesting. So what you are saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is art to you is your perspective of reality. Is that like would that do justice to what?
In some ways. I mean, see, perspective again. There are a lot of perspectives that still exist. Like the reality in itself can have a lot of different ideas to it. Right. Like I walk this way, I put my left foot first, the other one put a right. That's two perspectives there in itself.
Right.
So I don't know about how it relates to perspective of reality in the whole sentence. But yes, perspective as one and reality as one as two separate issues is what I talk about.
Okay. Mudra.
well, I have a very romantic understanding of it. For me, it's kind of my self-preservation, the way I look at art. What do you think is God? Or anyone thinks here is God?
Bringing in the big guy.
Sorry,
Bringing in the big guy.
dropping the G bomb.
I'd say it's something that we look up to.
Fair enough. Yeah. Anyone else?
I would like to say a God defined is God defined.
Okay.
I mean,
I hope.
if I define a God in certain definition or a murti or something else, that is it. That is just God. I would not like to be. I don't want him to be that.
Right.
I just want him to be there.
Right.
Everywhere.
Okay.
I think it's a direction or a positive mindset. That's just.
Lovely.
That's just it.
Let's just keep
I
all
have-
of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very opposite ideology to it.
Yeah.
Essentially,
To
it's just
positive mindset.
no. Well, that too, but about the God idea of it. But it's just that I believe that humans need to fear something. In like because if you give humans enough power, then they just ruin the world in that sense.
Fair.
Like apart from the good things, in the bad things, like if you give them too much power, there's a lot of bad that can happen. Worse than what's happening currently in the world.
But do you believe that objective morality exists
No.
only because there is God? If there is no God, all people will be immoral?
Yes, on some level, yes, because morals came in with the ideology that there is somebody that exists that we have to
But there
fear.
are atheists who still
They have
do good.
morals. They have,
Yeah.
of course, they have morals and ethics.
So morality need God or doesn't? No.
It
Doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't always need it. But
So why
then
there?
it's just the fear
Okay.
part of things.
Yeah.
I really don't
Continue.
mind.
Your
I feel like I've opened a Pandora's box.
You
That
have.
wasn't the direction I was heading into. Anyhow,
Yeah.
a lot of people have a personal idea of what
Yeah.
God is, right? Personally, I'm an atheist, to put it on the table, but I'm very inspired by the Advaita philosophy in Hinduism, you can say, which is basically saying everything is God. Everything is God. This air that we can't see, Rhea, me, Aham Brahmasmi, the whole idea of, just everything around you, even the shit on the road.
Yeah.
All of it. It's God, right? In some ways, I understand it as flow.
Okay.
As an artist, in many ways, we feel that, I'm not getting the flow, man.
yeah.
I can't get that. I'm not able to get into that mindset. Right? So every time I pick up an instrument, I take up anything, just anything artistic that I'm diving into, I think of myself as God. Not in a very self-important way that some mere niche, not in that way. But that feeling of beauty, of you can even say,
Does it empower you personally?
100%. 100%. It empowers me. That drives me rather than empowering me.
Exactly.
Every day I get up and it's not a conscious decision. Oh yeah, I'm talking to myself that I'm God. No. But every time I'm feeling, I can feel that energy flowing through me. And that's when I feel that, somehow, my music or my art is coming together. So for me, in many ways, art is God.
Nice.
Wow.
That is a good answer.
That is really
I would like to change my answer.
Same, sir. Same.
Art is Satan.
Okay.
Krishna.
Okay, so for me, art is something that I am completely and very much not.
Okay.
No.
See, to put it in a better terms, it's something that I am not. Okay, like I am completely opposite of something is what art is. Because, see, all of us have been in a place in our life where, we're not happy. We're in a sticky situation or we're, in trouble or something. And at that time, a piece of music or a poem or, even a book or something like that lifts us up, right?
Right.
So at that exact moment, you're completely polarizing to what's right in front of you, and that merges into something which is that aha moment or a place where you totally absorb whatever is right in front of you.
Wow.
So for me, I am completely opposite of what art can be portrayed, because that's why I need it to balance the shit out.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
so essentially you're creating the void that you have. Very
Nobody
cool.
was.
I like that.
But it also works as a portal in a better understanding, because it takes you somewhere. It merges your energies with itself. And of course, a big artist is supposed to be looked up as, a person with a lot of power like that. So in that sense, it's God, but it's us looking up at God. So that's how I would like to relate to what he said and saying that I am on the same page. with him.
Right. Shrihari, why don't you?
Actually, I started from, I talk about the story.
Mhm.
I started from, I think, first standard. I
Mhm.
started drawing, then I started coloring, then crafts and painting, all the subjects from the schools. And then I had my elementary exams, the intermediate exams. And through the journey, I realized that it is just a freedom done right. Art for me is just freedom done right. So I think when I designed a logo, so it was my first project. I have never designed a logo before that. So I did the logo. I did the concept designing for the logo. I did it according to me, and surprisingly, in the first attempt, the client made it final. And the reason, because I think it was the concept behind it. or how I thought the name of the it was a logo for an educational institute. I think the concept and the freedom which I took to design the logo made it correct. So it's just that freedom done right. I didn't want to ask this question, but do you think you are free?
Yeah, no, I was about to ask him exactly freedom done right meaning what? Like, where is the freedom wrong?
Right.
Are you free?
From yourselves.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
If you are, that's freedom done right.
Okay, so tell me something. How did you get into your art form, and why?
I would like to go.
Yes, sir.
So that's like it's an interesting story for me because I was gonna take up product design, and it happened so that I was in a room with my guys and we were stoning, and suddenly one of my friends they come across the trailer for Rick and Morty's opening. So they made like a small anthology sort of a thing.
Right.
So what they did is, that's the interesting part. What they did is the first artist took the starting frame and the ending frame of his film, his part of the whole film, and he gave his ending frame to the artist behind him. So it's the first frame for him. So that's how they created a very nice collage, and with really nice transitions in them.
Right.
So it's basically showing a LSD trip.
Ah,
honestly.
okay.
Yeah. So it's like that. It's like slightly psychedelic. And I saw that video and I said to myself that I wanna have that power. I wanna have that power that I can shake somebody's roots
Right.
and make them think.
Yeah.
We as an artist, we don't have weapons to destroy, but to create. We can create emotions like that. So I was just tripping, but I just made the dash towards product design, and I just took animation and I just gave the next day, and that's how my career started. Like, I took animation and that's how my second year started in design.
Wow. Wow.
Mudra bhai.
Mudra.
It started very early for me. I think because we talk about, thing with instruments or any sort of music is that people think it's a very specialized thing. It's a human experience. Can you count into them? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Most of us can do it.
Right.
If you can do that, you can pick an instrument. So somewhere I feel while he was speaking, I had an answer, but it just reminded me that it's such a art in general. It's such a human experience. It's so natural to all of us. My journey started when I was 6. I was in first grade, and so my school would start at 9. One of these days, the auto wala said that एक दिन मुझे थोड़ा जल्दी ले जाना पड़ेगा, मुझे दूसरे स्कूल के बच्चों को उठाना है किसी और ऑटो वाले के. I think it's a very shared experience.
Yeah.
उस दिन 9 बजे की जगह मैं 8:30 को स्कूल पहुंच गया. तो जस्ट इन फर्स्ट ग्रेड एंड जस्ट किंडरगार्टन से बाहर निकले तो आप फर्स्ट ग्रेड में बड़ी स्कूल में जा रहे हो, साइड वाली छोटी बिल्डिंग में नहीं जा रहे हो. तो उस तरह की जो चीज़ें थी वहाँ पे मैं गया तो आई एम जस्ट रोमिंग अराउंड जस्ट सीइंग व्हाट द स्कूल इज लाइक इन द मॉर्निंग. जब कोई नहीं होता है स्कूल के अंदर में, फ्रीडम है पूरा. एंड आई कुड हियर तबला क्लासेस होती थी सबकी, आप सबकी भी हुई होंगी. दे आर बोरिंग टू डेथ. जो क्लास में थी धा वो करते थे.
Exactly.
Big reason for that is I feel a lot of schools don't inspire students. वो जो इंस्पिरेशन की बात कहता है वो मुझे उस दिन समझ में आया जब मैं घूम रहा था और तबला रूम के बाहर I could hear the tabla playing. It wasn't Dhadin. It was otherworldly. From some other universe, the sound that came. I just went there and I just stood by the gate of the room and I kept listening to our tabla teacher, who eventually became my guru. His name is Pandit Prashant Gaikwad. He's from the Banaras Gharana, a Guinness World Record holder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
And quite an interesting personality, but I learned it through him. So जो आधा घंटा पहले जाके जब वो सुना ऐसा भी बच सकता है. Went back home and I told my parents that I want to learn tabla. And they were very supportive. They were like, हाँ ठीक है सीखो. तो they came and they spoke to Guruji and he said कि क्लास में तो नहीं सीख पाएगा.
Right.
तो मैंने खुद के पैर पे कुल्हाड़ी मारी कि जो 8:30 बजे जाने में तकलीफ होती थी, मुझे रोज 8 बजे स्कूल पहुंचना पड़ता था 1 घंटा पहले. तो अपनी जिंदगी के 10 साल में सबसे 1 घंटा पहले स्कूल पहुंचता था ताकि मैं तबला सीख सकूं. मुझे घर पे भी आते थे. So that's how I got into it. And eventually, so it was largely about tabla. फिर 9वीं 10वीं में आते हो आपको पता लगता है कि लड़कियां तो गिटार से पढ़ती है ठीक है तो तबले से कुछ नहीं होने वाला तो थोड़ा दूर हो गया बट मेरे जो एक्सपीरियंस मतलब आई बीन वेरी लकी एंड प्रिविलेज्ड दैट आई गॉट टू स्टडी इन वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग प्लेसेस और वहाँ से थोड़ा बाहर निकला मैं दूसरी जगह पे गया तो वहाँ पर अलग अलग जॉनर के अलग अलग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स बजाने वाले लोग होते थे और उनके साथ में मिलके फिर एक और सीखने की इच्छा होती फर्स्ट थिंग आई पिक्ड अप आफ्टर द वाज अ यूकेलेले and it's all because of a TED talk. I'll send you the links. You guys should put that in the description. I feel
Sure,
it's
definitely.
given for everyone. He says learn everything in 20 hours. और उसके अंदर में तुम यूकेलेले सीख लो of course you have to know कि तुम कोई मास्टर तो नहीं बन जाओगे 20 घंटे पर वो एक बेसिक इंस्टिंक्ट एक बेसिक आइडिया वो मसल मेमोरी जो डेवलप होना है वो उतने में हो जाती है वो 20 घंटे की बात करते हो that's when I picked up a ukulele and from that moment on it was all downstream.
That was really an interesting answer. What about Rhea?
I don't know. The reading has been a big part in my house. Like we used to have these Sunday afternoons where my father used to say that we would have to sit in a room, not talk to each other, but just read for like 2 to 3 hours straight, with some very Kenny G music in the background all the time, and ironically, that's how I got to know about Eric Clapton and Phil Collins and all of those people.
Okay.
And then it became a thing that after that we would discuss what we read. It was like a whole session of a Sunday.
Right.
The whole Sunday would go that way.
Book club लेकिन घर पे.
That book club lekin ghar. It was just 3 people. My younger brother was like very very young, so he used to just draw on walls. That was his Sunday, and every other day after that. But okay.
Wow. So insightful.
Very insightful indeed. So yeah, because of that I had a huge thing for literature. Like the way things were written, the way the same emotion was displayed in multiple ways in multiple books, which would give a very different insight of the same emotion that was carried.
Yeah.
Right. So like anger in a romance novel will be some sort of a sad infliction. But if it was a murder thing, it would be very, very loud and dark and very, something that you would want to punch instead. Right. So that was like a very, but both of them were anger in their own sense.
Right.
So that was like a very interesting thing to me. Later, being an Indian family child and all of that, it was beta science,
Yes.
beta what literature.
Yes.
So I had to like keep it on hold for some time.
Right.
So, but then I had an interest in physics after that. I was like, why not learn about the way the world works in a whole different aspect? So yeah, then the physics interest came in, and then the literature just completely stopped.
Right.
One fine day, I was like, I saw my library and I realized most of them were new books that I had not read at all. So I went back into the whole thing.
Right.
Then I started to do these diary entries. I was a very dear diary person also.
Nice.
Yeah, in my teenage I was very weird. Very, very weird. I was like a very weird nerd that would not study history but read Dan Brown, and my batchmates were like, what the fuck, I mean, why are you reading that if you could read course? And I'm like, why? But yeah, that happened, and then I was like, okay, maybe this dear diary thing can go somewhere further and different. So I started to write them as a autobiography thing.
Yeah.
It was a very keen subject in school in English. Autobiography of a pencil, of a coin that was lost in the wishing well. What would it perceive and how would it perceive and stuff like that. We used to write about that a lot in school. So that was also one of those points where I was like, maybe I can just write autobiography of a human and be like, what do I feel about it? And how is my existence a thing? Might as well, exactly, might as well. Right. So then it went into the diary, went into articles, went into poems, went into articles, which made me realize I could do this for a career.
Right.
So the writing that I knew, which was career, which was paying me, was content writing in marketing agencies.
Right.
So I realized that okay, this could be a starting point, until which I can go further and find something else.
Right.
Like because it's such a broad aspect to just write. So it was just a thing. So I was like, maybe this could be a starting point where I can branch out further.
Okay.
So yeah, ironically, I'm still on the bark of it. I have not branched out as such.
Right.
But I've learned a lot of things. I have done a lot of things. Currently, my goal for now, if you ask me now, would be if to create some sort of a way to amalgamate my science and my literature together, and bring science in the pop culture in a way that people don't fear it, but people actually embrace it and understand the fact that it actually runs the world in some sense.
Like you said, you had a Dear Diary thing. Even I had a similar experience.
Of course you
I
do.
mean, so who are you key? Because I was in 6th standard and I used to write in my diary, and like all the mothers, my mother also read it. But my mother took it in a very different way. Whatever I wrote in that, she just gave me a solution to how to deal with it. And that became a form of communication between me and my mother. So I learned to express myself more clearly. And that is how it built up in me. So I started writing before I started reading. So that is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to you.
Shrihari.
Again back to school days. So मैं मतलब एकदम से शांत जैसा बच्चा था, but my drawing was good. So जब ऐसे board monitor
Yes. I got so many
तो
memories.
my
कितने बार नाम दिया?
teacher just ये board monitor इसको अपन thought of the day देंगे, इसको अपन margin बनाने
अच्छा
देंगे.
वो वाला भी होता है क्या?
हाँ, तो ये सब कुछ हुआ. Then one day my friend came and he said, see, I have a printer and I charge people ₹10 for printing any photograph of a heroine or hero. क्योंकि
10 rupees.
तब किसी के पास क्लास में ही नहीं था, लेकिन बदलापुर दवाई थी, तो लोगों को वरुण धवन बहुत पसंद आया, उसकी फोटोज प्रिंट करके दूँ.
Oh wow.
So why don't you charge for drawing?
Charge for?
Drawing.
Not on the board. But for people ये science diagram बना के दे वाले आते थे बोल. So I started taking ₹5, and outside my school there was a guy who used to sell murli chaat. I used to eat that murli chaat. So I don't know, the ₹5 maybe gave me validation that I am good in drawing. So I just started drawing, coloring, sketching, and exploring multiple art forms maybe. So if I say how did I get into the art style for this art, I don't know, but I'm here for the ₹5.
I like that.
Capitalism बचपन से है.
Can I ask what grade were you in when you took the ₹5 for science diagrams?
I don't know.
Very entrepreneurial.
सब टैलेंट बन रहे हैं. एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, ग्राफिक आर्टिस्ट, आर्किटेक्चर.
Because of that printer guy.
So humble.
Inspiration for me that
10 रुपए में प्रिंट
if
होगा
you
तो
are good
5
at
रुपए में
something,
ड्राइंग
never do
होगा.
it for free.
Yes. Just pop culture references.
You need to send them a thank you text.
Yeah, उसको royalty देना
हाँ,
पड़ेगा.
royalty.
इसलिए मैं नाम नहीं लिया.
Nice.
Very clever.
Smart,
Nice.
smart.
Nice.
Nice.
So, coming on to the question,
Yes.
what do you guys think about political art? It can be anything. It can be writing, it can be musical, or it can be drawing.
First, I'm just trying to think of the few political artists that are coming to my mind. Number one would be Banksy.
Yeah.
Banksy is hands down at the avant-garde of political art, I feel, in many ways. It's a piece of art, that's it. But the way it affects you is so deep, and it's saying so many things.
It's really killer.
Absolutely. Something like that. Bob Marley.
Yeah.
That it's political in its own way. It's saying it's going against capitalism in some ways. And again, I think another aspect that we have to bring in is that art. So a song would be an art, but the artist is not. That entire debate about art and the artist. But I feel even beyond, once the art is published, the artist is also putting forth a political stance. So I think that has a huge effect on me as well.
Yeah. Making a statement.
Come again?
Making a statement.
Making a statement.
Yeah.
So have you ever do you think that it is wrong for someone to consider an artist as a left wing or a right wing artist? Do you think that is a wrong thing to do?
आर्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ आर्ट, जिसको जो जैसी बनाए बनाओ, तुम्हारा आर्ट तुम्हारा काम कर लेगा। लेफ्ट विंग को तो हमारे ऊपर है, करना है नहीं करना है कई बार। और कुछ आर्ट प्रोवोकेटिव होती है बाय नेचर, यू नो, एनी पॉलिटिकल आर्ट वुड बी प्रोवोकेटिव, इट गोज विदाउट सेइंग, राइट? वो भी एक आर्गुमेंट है कि एवरीथिंग इज पॉलिटिकल, यू नो, द पर्सनल इज पॉलिटिकल, ये भी एक आर्गुमेंट है, रख सकते हैं। बट आई फील लेफ्ट विंग हो राइट विंग हो, कोई भी political agenda से आए हो, but if the art is true in what it's trying to say, I think it will find its lovers or engage. It would engage with the people that it wants to engage with.
I have like a follow-up answer in the sense with that. I don't know. Political art on some levels is a way to get people aware. On some levels, okay, like because with the whole Instagram and with the whole social media aspect of things, not a lot of people actually read about those articles.
Okay.
So, right, they don't read the articles, and if they do, they read one article which is, you know, which has some opinion. It's not fact based, and then those opinions get shaped because of that opinionated article in the first place. So it's a whole cycle of those things. So I don't know, political art, as long as it makes you aware and as long as it did not come up to stir up drama on the internet,
Okay.
I believe political art is something that is really good to do.
Okay. So you guys know about Charlie Hebdo, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty political what they made.
Right.
So they were trying to stir drama. Would you say that, or they were trying to make people aware?
Well, the debate over there largely is about freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
That's what the entire thing came down to. Freedom of speech versus fundamentalism,
Okay.
you know. So people went way too far. Sometimes you don't even have to engage. It was maybe for a community, or maybe a lot of people might call it crass.
Right.
When you know something is revered and when you're trying to put it down, whatever. And again, this is not my opinion. I just feel that, you know, there'll be so many different aspects to that debate. So
I believe because there's a fine line between like trying to break what is the current ideology and to just stir up drama because you know it will create the drama. There's a huge fine line between it. I mean, it's fine enough, but then you can look at it.
and you can again say Banksy does that, right?
Yeah.
He's provocating. Charlie Hebdo does it, they do it. That taking that, people took it too far. That's a different idea of it, you know, different aspect of it. But I think when it's political, it will be provocative.
No, but I like the thing about Banksy is that he's very stealthy about his art.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't wanna say it right away, but he would say it very silently. And you know, he's also in good stuff. Like he recently bought this French army vessel, and what that vessel does is it helps refugees who are, you know, traveling through the boats and trying to break into UK.
Right.
So that French vessel, and there's Banksy art all over it. That vessel could sell for a lot more right now, but I'm guessing it shouldn't get stolen or something. But it's doing a really nice job of saving people's lives. So he's active in that sense as well. He's not just stirring it up, and he's also saving people's lives that way.
Right.
People still don't know who Banksy is, right? He was an unknown artist.
Yeah.
The last 19
Yeah,
years.
I think his face is not revealed yet.
No,
Bro, you
he used to
should
spray
really
paint
watch
walls.
this documentary.
You're right, graffiti.
Yeah.
Exit through a gift shop. You should really watch it. He has a presence in it. He speaks in it.
Okay.
His face is all blacked
Of
out,
course,
but it's fucking amazing. That's how I got to know Banksy.
Okay.
And I mean, it's Banksy's work actually, a film work of Banksy.
The thing that I like about Banksy is that he does what he does because he wants to propagate a message, right? He does not want to be famous because of that. And I feel like a lot of artists do what they do because they want fame. And Banksy is exactly the opposite.
Yeah, you know
Right.
what he did? Once he had this photo frame and he had the rat artwork in it. And once it got sold in the bidding for some $100 million, it right away went into shreds. Like there was a machine
saw
into
that.
it.
Yes.
And the art piece, like right at that moment when it got sold, it got into pieces, like
Oh,
shreds.
yeah.
Yes, I saw that.
I
on
heard about
Instagram.
something like that.
Yes.
I did not check it out, but I heard
that's
about it.
so fucking badass.
It's that true singular power of art that he carries. That's what I'm talking about. Like that power that he has that nobody else can do anything to.
And even in the documentary, he's like, I'm giving up a spoiler, but he's showing like legit cash, like a bootleg cash that he has, like, exact copy which he apparently made. And he made a lot of them. So basically, he just prints money. Like it's a speculation, but he showed that in the documentary that he does that, and he can do it openly because apparently no one knows.
It's great branding though. You can
Oh.
show your face.
Yes.
You know, once you say that Banksy doesn't want it for him, Javed Akhtar says something very nice. You know, when people ask him about his creation, Javed Akhtar says कि जो मैं शेर शायरी कविताएं लिखता हूँ ये जैसे मेरे बच्चे हैं. People ask him what do you think about it, तो वो कहता है कि बच्चे हो गए बड़े हो जाएंगे. Goes in the same way. It goes for Banksy as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want it for himself, but I think every artist would want their art to propagate as far as it can. You know, so if not for himself, he'd want it for his bachas.
Right.
मेरा art तो आगे बढ़े.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a really nice thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think art and his an artist and his art are one thing, or you look at it differently?
Different. 100%.
Because some artists make great art, but they're a terrible human being. Right?
Yeah, Pablo Picasso.
Yeah, exactly. That was I was thinking. Yeah.
All my art teachers. All my art teachers.
Just in person.
No, but
So does that
no.
make his art any less appreciative? No.
बच्चे हो गए.
Depends on the individual, I think.
बच्चे वो थोड़ी है वो क्या है. A lot of people. I think this debate was really struck forward by Nanette. I think the comedy special that came out. I'm forgetting her name.
Hannah Gadsby.
That's
Okay.
quite right. And
Yes, Hannah Gadsby.
it came out with that.
Van Gogh का example दिया था उसने.
Yeah, Van Gogh.
हाँ.
One of the and I've had this discussion with a lot of people, you know, and some of the things it makes me think that okay, yeah, it's quite right. Ki if you are indulging in their art, then you're propagating their behavior in some way. Now let's take the example of Kevin Spacey. I grew up, you know, being such a huge fan. And let me put it, I still am a fan of his work. When what he does on screen is unimaginable.
Yeah.
Right? What he does off it is condemnable.
Very
Right? It's so sad what has come out, you know, the events that have come out. But अभी अगर हमको उसके काम को मना कर देना है, सोचो हाउस ऑफ कार्ड्स. ठीक है, केविन स्पेसी ने ऐसे किया, ही इज अ टिटुलर कैरेक्टर एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, ठीक है, उसको साइड में करो. व्हाट अबाउट द एक्ट्रेस, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग हर नेम, हु प्लेज वाइफ,
Robin Wright.
Robin Wright, right? And what about the countless women who were part of that production? What about them? And it's not just about women, if women and men, but you know, if that's what we are saying, that you know, it puts down their behavior, you know, then I feel we also have to think about the rest of them. कि इनका भी तो इसमें योगदान है, इनका भी तो इसमें हाथ है, तो कैसे फिर उसको अलग करें. आर्ट और आर्टिस्ट को वो क्या एक बार पैदा कर दे, मेरे हिसाब से उसको उस हिसाब से देखो. अगेन आप पिकासो की बात करते हैं, you can say okay, let's just condemn Picasso. What about the influence Picasso has had on his successors?
On the other artists, essentially. Yeah.
उसका कैसे, उनको भी आपको मना करना, उसमें उसका एसेंस तो है, वो उससे इंस्पायर तो हुआ है कोई ना कोई. This is what I feel.
I don't know. In some ways, I believe not doing enough research also helps you out.
Right.
Because if you were looking at Picasso's art and you were like, "ठीक है भाई, the art is beautiful, it's nice, it's wonderful," I do not want to know about the artist. Man. If he was a good person or a bad person, I am just looking at the art and I'm like, okay, I am amazed by what he did. I'm looking at the product and I do not care who the founder is. Essentially.
That happens with me a lot because I generally wouldn't remember the name of the artist that I really like to work on.
Okay.
So it's something that I suffer from a lot. Remembering people's name and it's a big step for me.
No, but I would like to keep them separate. Yes.
It might have happened with you that people at some point would have got offended by your art, right?
Has that happened?
Because there are so many people, there are so many opinions, and whatever you say, someone somewhere will get offended by it.
Not offended exactly, but
Yeah.
people conceived it to be repetitive.
Okay,
That happened a lot.
but if someone finds your art offending, what would you say to them?
I mean, for me, it happened in school a lot. I mean, Yash would know.
I do.
He witnessed it firsthand. So I used to draw everywhere in my book. Like wherever I saw an empty space, it would be filled. But teachers wouldn't like that.
Right.
So it kind of trained me in a better way because I thanked them for bashing me at that time. It made me immune to realizing that this world wouldn't accept what I do. Not right away. Like some people would, but some people wouldn't. Some people wouldn't care. And there is a whole aspect about how to be an artist and how to manage it and how to deal with it.
Right.
So right away when I started doing it, I got to face that. So it helped me in a way to realize things which helped me in my career. So it's a plus, I guess. They were just doing their job. They just don't want a kid not studying and
Focusing.
yeah, because they will be accountable if I get less marks. So I would say that they were just doing their job. So I forgive all that and I just move forward with that.
Okay.
Really interesting. And Shrihari, I would like you to continue with what Krishna said. What
I
was
have
your
the
experience?
Opposite experience of what
Okay.
Krishna said. Because
You were a good student?
no,
I was a
let's,
terrible student.
Okay.
I sucked.
Same.
let's just not go there.
I was a nerd and a bad nerd at that, so it like sucked more. Yeah, exactly.
On the last page of a history textbook, I was sketching a portrait of the history teacher who was teaching. So the whole teaching period, I sketched his portrait, and he was noticing it. But at the end, when he came to me, क्या कर रहे हैं? Sir, कुछ नहीं. मुझे last page दिखा. So he saw his portrait. डेस्क रहता है सामने, उस पे ऐसे पैर रख के बैठे थे, तो मैं सेम टू सेम वैसा स्केच किया था, एकदम परफेक्ट नहीं था. बट ही टुक द फोटो ऑफ इट, ही टुक द प्रिंट आउट ऑफ इट, और उन्होंने सारे स्कूल में दिखाया. सो दैट वाज काइंड ऑफ
That's actually
That was
wonderful.
very sweet.
मैं तो बोलते थे क्या कीड़े मकोड़े बना क्यों बना रहे.
हिस्ट्री टेक्स्ट में पोर्ट्रेट्स पे तो ड्रॉ किया ही है सबने.
तो किए
So वो क्योंकि खत्म हो गया था.
चालू किए तो
अच्छा,
कीड़े
वो
मकोड़े ही लगे उनको.
वो खत्म हो गया था, तो लास्ट पेज खाली था. बोला
कर लेते हैं.
टीचर का करके देखते हैं.
What would you like to add? Do you think music can be offensive, and should it be considered offensive?
Yeah, it can be. Offense का क्या है यार? Like you asked me, no one has been offended by my art per se. People have had opinions. मैं ऑर्कुट पे था, शायद तुम लोग
Yes, yes.
नहीं,
नाम सुना है.
सुना है.
ज़्यादा जैसे
मैं
सुना
थी.
है, सुना है.
नहीं, मैं थी और मैं ऑर्कुट पे थी.
मेरे में टेस्ट
मैं ऑर्कुट पे थी.
मेरे को उस पर जाना अलाउड नहीं था, बट सुना है.
OG Facebook.
Absolutely.
ओ भाई.
जैसे उसका अबाउट मी सेक्शन होता है ना, उसमें बहुत एकदम उस टाइम बहुत कूल लगती थी मुझे लाइन. ओपिनियन इज लाइक एन एस. एवरीबॉडी हैज वन. ठीक है, सबके पास है भाई, अपनी अपनी रखो अपने पास. अभी की बात है, मतलब मुझे फर्स्ट टाइम ऐसा हुआ कि मुझे थोड़ा बुरा लगा कि मैं एक डेट पे था और सो दिस इज समथिंग आई ट्राई एंड लर्न इज इट्स कॉल्ड थ्रोट सिंगिंग.
Right. The Tibetan throat
Tibetan
singing.
Mongolian throat singing.
Right.
और मुझे लगा आगे वाले को पसंद है तो एंड शी आल्सो डू यू सिंग. ये पहला क्वेश्चन होता है किसी को पता है म्यूजिशियन डू यू सिंग. कौन बेसुरा मैं नहीं गा सकता.
Yeah.
बट आई डू दिस काइंड ऑफ सिंगिंग. तो मैंने उसको एक छोटा सा डेमोंस्ट्रेशन दिया कि ये थ्रोट सिंगिंग होता है. एंड फर्स्ट रिएक्शन वाज आई वुड वांट टू हियर समथिंग लाइक दिस
Ever again?
हाँ, मतलब I would look forward to something like this. ऐसी कुछ on those lines. It was very blunt.
Right.
मतलब मेरे दिल के एकदम आर पार हो गया. कुछ भी बोल देती यार. दिल रखने के लिए बोल देती. But she's like उसने
This was first date?
हाँ, जो first and last.
Right.
I am glad.
So you know लगेगा लोगों को बुरा. कभी-कभी डर लगता है कि कोई तुम ज्यादा पॉलिटिकल चीज के अंदर में अगर हाथ डालो तो ऐसा लगता है लाइक मैं यूजुअली मेरी पॉलिटिक्स बहुत पर्सनल रखता हूँ इन द सेंस कि मैं फेस टू फेस उसके साथ में एंगेज करना चाहूँगा. सोशल मीडिया पे आई डोंट लाइक टू हैव दोस डिस्कशन क्योंकि इतना सा वो टेक्स्ट के ऊपर में ना टोन समझ पा रहे हो ना टाइम मिल रहा है एक दूसरे को समझने का. एंड एवरीवनस ट्राइंग टू पुट देयर बेस्ट फुट फॉरवर्ड कि भाई मैं सही हूँ तू गलत है. वो है तो उसमें डिस्कशन नहीं होता. देवदत्त पटनायक यही कही होगा उनके he puts forth a very beautiful concept कि या तो हम विवाद कर सकते हैं या तो हम संवाद कर सकते हैं.
Nice.
संवाद is conversation.
Right.
It's not a tug of war. It's मंथन. जैसे हम दही बनाते हैं ना कि पहले मैं खींचूं, फिर मैं छोड़ू तो तुम खींचो, फिर मैं खींचूं, फिर तुम छोड़ो. टग ऑफ वॉर में दोनों खींचे. उसमें क्या एक गिरेगा, दोनों ही गिरेंगे इनफैक्ट. एक जीतेगा मे भी, पर गिरेंगे दोनों. That's something that he talks about. I think वो engagement होना जरूरी. तो ठीक है, ओपिनियन है लोगों के, होने दो. हम अपना काम करते जाएंगे ना. हम क्यों रुकेंगे किसी को?
आर्टिस्ट ने रुकना नहीं चाहिए अपने आर्ट को.
हाँ,
आर्टिस्ट ने रुकना नहीं चाहिए आर्ट को.
हाँ बिल्कुल नहीं. And that pushed me even further. मैं बोला अब तो देखेगी
Yeah.
कितना अच्छा थ्रोट सिंगिंग करूँगा मैं. You know, that just pushed me better.
Yes, इंतकाम तो करा के मेरा प्यार. मेरा इंतकाम. Yes.
So that was fun. That was really fun.
Yes, and that brings an end to our conversation. Thank you so much for being here. This is, I think, one of our most interesting episodes.
Are you going to say that every episode?
No.
I caught you there.
So I just want you guys to wave to the camera once. And that is it for today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.